Avoid the #1 cause of privacy breaches on your website. The #1 cause of privacy breaches is your basic contact form. I know, right? It's not really collecting a lot of information and it can seem innocuous. It's just sitting there collecting information. Hopefully people are filling out your contact form. But I want to tell you what made me think about you in terms of your website and how it can expose you to risk. So this past weekend, I attended a seminar out of town, and I won't tell you about the seminar. It's not that interesting. But the experience I had making my reservation at an Airbnb, it reminded me of form security on websites and how important it is to pay attention to this. And you may not even realize that you're at risk. So I'm going to give you some things to think about. So I went through the reservation process. I secured my reservation, paid for the reservation, and then I got an email and a text prompting me to complete my reservation information by filling out a form. So I thought that was a little unusual. But I went to the form. It was on a website, and I recognized the form. I'm a website developer and have been working with forms for more than 10 years. So I recognized this particular form tool, and nothing special about it. It's commonly used, and so I went through the process of completing the form. It's a type kit form. It had me fill out my name, and then it went to the next item, and the next item was to upload a photo of my driver's license. And so I was immediately like, I don't think so. So that's not secure. There's nothing particularly secure about this form. I have no idea who's receiving this on the other end. And I also don't know the security practices of this company. And I don't know if they even know what the risk that they're exposing not only me but themselves to. So I contacted the host and I said, hey, I don't feel good about filling out this form, and that you're asking me to upload my driver's license, and that's not secure. There's nothing secure about this form. So they made an exception for me, but it made me think about you, and I thought I'm going to make this video for you so that you can think about this form security and reduce your liability, reduce your exposure to this kind of risk. So here's what you want to think about. Okay, so you've got a contact form. Hopefully somebody fills it out, and you get an email notification, or someone on your team or multiple people on your team get a notification in their email inbox, and it's got the contents of the form. What you may not know is that form information and everything that was completed also goes to a second place on your website, and that's called your form entries. If you have a WordPress website, it's probably through something like a Gravity Forms plugin or any type of form plugin. When it was configured, it was set up to, okay, who do we want to notify by email of the form? But there's also a section in the menu for your form plugin called entries or form entries. And when you go there, that's where you'll find the entire history of all of the entries. Every time someone filled out your form, the entries are there. It's a backup, right? Let's say you can't find your email, you lose your email, you can always go to your website, check out the entries, and you can see what the most recent, and going back as far, it can go back for years and years, right? So for as long as you've had the form. And so why is that a problem? So one way it can be a problem is that if your website is more accessible than your emails. So you have third parties work on your website. They have access to those entries. You have employees in your website. They have access to those entries. Maybe the original website developer that you don't even work with anymore still has login credentials to the website. They have access to those entries. Anytime, if your website were to be hacked, then anyone hacking your website would have access to all the form entries, as well as employees that don't work for the company anymore. So as website managers, we often see that it's just not considered important to delete the employee that no longer works for the company, to actually delete them from the website, their access to the website. So they'll have access to the form entries. So you can see how this can, so the more sophisticated information that your form collects, the bigger the risk feels. So if you're, for example, online forms are often used to collect online job applications, right? Or you name it, health, forms, online forms. Let's say you're a dentist, doctor's office. You're having your client fill out some forms prior to their first visit, or maybe it's a renewal. You're collecting information online through a form. You have to ask yourself who has access to that information, health information especially. But so what do you do about that? You go find your entries. They shouldn't be difficult to find if you're able, or you work with your website manager and talk about, hey, where are these entries going on the website? And develop a practice of going in and deleting the entries. So you can do that every day, every 5 days, every month. That plan is up to you, of course. And, but someone needs to be responsible for that, making sure those entries are deleted. And usually there's a way to download them locally to your website. And then those are other security considerations that you have to keep in mind. So the other piece to this is, if you have, there's a security issue if you have if your forms allow for uploading, right? So for example, with a job application, those types of online forms often invite the person to upload their resume. So that's really common. And but that doesn't mean that anyone can't just come along and upload anything, right? It doesn't even have to be a resume. It could just be fake information just to get to that upload point. And you want to ask yourself, what are the controls I have in terms of who can upload what? And so are there file type limitations? Are there file size limitations, so that that you don't have people uploading enormous files that overburden your server and cause your website to slow down? That's another reason to make sure you are deleting your form entries along with those uploads, because that can just quickly overburden your server as well. So it's not just going to your email. Even if you don't have your form entries residing on your website. Let's say you're using a third-party tool for forms that you're embedding into your website, and the forms are there's products like Wufoo Forms, Typekit as an example, email marketing forms like MailChimp, Constant Contact, Aweber. Those form entries, even though the form is on your website, will reside on those platforms. So even that needs to be a consideration in terms of what's the information you're collecting, who has access to this third-party platform, are the passwords strong, and do only the right people have access to that information, right? So what are the policies? And do you need, another question to ask yourself, do you need a disclaimer or a terms and conditions that's accepted on the form, so that people are aware that, hey, here's our policy with your information. The information you're entering in this form is deleted after 30 days, right? So just whatever it is you're communicating, that the information will not be retained forever. So, which is good. That increases trust, and then you want, when you make that commitment, you want to follow through on that, of course. So if you need any help looking for that information on your website, you can reach out to my agency. And what I do here, I'm Emily Journey. What I do here is I create videos about marketing, search engine optimization, WordPress tutorials, and I also give you a behind the scenes look of what it's like to own a website development agency, an SEO agency. I've owned my agency for over 10 years. So if you'd like to see more videos on these topics, subscribe to my channel, and together we'll take small steps. We'll figure out WordPress and SEO together.